We are going on a trip down memory lane back to the 1990s. Yeah. This is Poeme by Lancome, and it is a typical 90s fragrance, big and bold and absolutely beautiful. What can I tell you about this fragrance? It was released in 1995, and I remember the launch. I remember this fragrance coming out into the stores. I don't think it was a particularly big launch. It could have been. I wouldn't know, because back then I was 17, so I probably wouldn't have really been in those circles to know if it was a really big launch or not. But in any case, I remember it coming out. I remember smelling it. I thought it was beautiful. I couldn't afford it, so I didn't buy it back then. It was a few years before I bought my own bottle. But I do remember smelling it on other people and going and just thinking, oh, one day I'm going to have a bottle of that perfume. And one day I did. And I then had several more. So yeah, this is not my first bottle of this fragrance. I have definitely owned several over the years. So, yeah, what does it smell like? Okay. There's lots in this fragrance. Oh, I should say so the perfumer behind this fragrance was Jacques Cavalier. Jacques Cavalier. Yeah, it came out in 1995. Did I say that already? I forget. God. Anyway, all right, what does it smell like? It smells like flowers. Lots of flowers. This is a whole garden of flowers right here. But the reason why I think I loved this so much when it first came out was the distinct absence of rose, because back then I hated rose. I couldn't stand the smell of roses, and anything that had a rose in it, I was just, ugh. I remember my mother having this air freshener when I was younger, and I think it was just called Old English Rose or something, back in the 80s. And it was hideous. It was the worst thing. She used to use this hideous air freshener, and consequently I always thought, well, if that's what rose smells like, I don't want a bar of it. So I never really got into roses. Anyway, this has lots of white and yellow florals in it, mostly white. But the top notes, when you first spray it, it's actually really sweet. I sprayed a little bit on my hand earlier. It is drying down now, but I think there's still enough of it to get the vibe of it all. Yeah. So what does it smell like? It starts off. The top notes are, hang on, I've got them written here: blue Himalayan poppy, black currant, mandarin, peach, and lychee blossom. So as you can imagine, when you first spray this on, it's very sweet. It is actually, you think it's going to be a fruity perfume, although you can still smell the floral in there immediately because it's a big floral. But yeah, a lot of it is actually the fruit and the sweetness of the fruit, I think. You know, I definitely get the citrus and maybe some of the blackcurrant. Yeah, I think there's definitely blackcurrant in there. Anyway, so, and then in the heart, you have orange blossom, jasmine, freesia, tuberose, mimosa, and clove. So you've got a bit of clove in there just to give it a bit of spice. And then finally in the base notes is vanilla datura flower. I don't know what that smells like. Tonka, amber, and musk. So when you first spray it on, it's very sweet. There's definitely still florals in there, but it is sweet. And then that sort of dissipates really quickly, probably within a few minutes. And then you really just get the florals just taking over the rest of the fragrance. And for me, what I think stands out the most is actually the jasmine and the orange blossom. I can smell the tuberose, but you know, it's the reason I say this is because on most fragrances that have tuberose in it, tuberose tends to blast out everything else. So but for me, the jasmine is really quite prominent in this. However, having said that, it actually is really hard to pick out, and I don't have a trained nose. I'm just a hack. I'm just an average person who just loves perfume. I haven't trained my nose. I'm trying to train it. Over the years, that's another story. I'm not going to go there. But in any case, I do get the jasmine, but for most part, this perfume, there is just so much going on in here that it's actually really hard to pick out individual notes. But sometimes, over the course of a few hours, different things will kind of come out and jump out at me, and I'll sort of go, oh, all right, there it is, you know. So you can definitely, it still retains its sweetness, even when it sort of dries down into this beautiful floral, heady mix. It is a very heady perfume, and it just sort of dries down to what I would consider to be a spicy floral. It has vanilla. You can still smell you can definitely smell the musk and the amber, but it all just sort of blends in so nicely. You can't really. It's just this beautiful, heady, mysterious yet romantic cloud that just envelops you. But interestingly, when you spray this on, you think, wow, that's big, you know. And when I sprayed it on today, actually, I was thinking, oh God, I've totally just oversprayed it, because I put a couple of spritzes on and then I did some stuff, and then I thought, oh, I can probably, because I'd put it on under my clothes. I often spray, especially if I know it's a big perfume, I'll often spray it lower on my abdomen and then put my clothes on so that it doesn't totally overpower everything. I did that, and then I put some more on, and I thought, oh God, I've totally oversprayed. I'm going to give myself a headache. And within an hour or two, I was sort of going, oh, okay, that's settled down really nicely now, and it's probably perfect. And then, you know, now, apart from this bit here where I sprayed it on my hand about 5 minutes ago, the rest of it seems to have pretty much disappeared. So that is the downside. So it is a beautiful fragrance. It's really big, and if you've never tried it before and you go out and you try it based on this review, you'll be thinking, you know, this is massive. This is a huge perfume. I can't handle this. But literally within an hour or so, it almost disappeared on me. So the longevity is no longer there. When I bought a bottle of this, you know, it would have been late 90s, maybe early 2000s. It was a really, really beautiful, long-lasting fragrance. I had a 30ml bottle and it lasted a really long time, although I didn't tend to spray it quite as much as I do now, because I was very, you know, funds were limited and I didn't want to waste the beautiful perfume. In any case, it doesn't unfortunately last as long, and it's just the reformulation palaver that we've all had to deal with over the years. This is still Poeme though. It is still a really beautiful, beautiful fragrance, and it still smells like Poeme. It just doesn't last as long, unfortunately. So I do find that I have to reapply this on a regular basis. But, you know, I don't necessarily consider that to be a bad thing. I mean, as it is, on a daily basis, I really struggle to figure out or to make a decision about what I'm going to wear from my perfume wardrobe. So if a perfume wears off within a few hours, then I just find the silver lining and go, well, now I can put something else on. But understandably, I mean, I'm probably okay with that thought, given that this, I think I picked this up for $60 here in Australia, which is really quite cheap. It never used to be that cheap. So $60 for 100ml is quite good value, and it is a beautiful perfume. So I would probably be okay with, you know, reapplying it. But if I had spent $300 on this, then perhaps I would be thinking twice about whether it's such good value, and I'd probably be a little bit more sparing with it. So, and not wanting to have to reapply it, I'd be expecting the quality to be there and for it to last. So anyway, that's Poeme by Lancome. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you haven't tried it and you do like floral fragrances, I do recommend trying it. Also, if it's not a straight tuberose fragrance, but tuberose is a bit scary for some people. I know some of my friends, when I've tried to introduce them to certain perfumes, they've really been put off by tuberose. But you know, this is probably a beautiful introduction to. Actually, it's not an introduction to tuberose. Just ignore that. It's so blended into everything that I don't think you could really call it a tuberose fragrance. But it is definitely a oriental floral that is mysterious and a little bit provocative, but innocent and romantic at the same time. So enjoy.